Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Have you ever looked at a really old mountain range and wondered about its story? Well, today we're going on an adventure to the Appalachian Mountains, one of the oldest mountain ranges in the world, to solve a super cool mystery that has scientists scratching their heads. Imagine the Appalachian Mountains as a giant wrinkly old grandpa. They've been around for hundreds of millions of years, way before the dinosaurs. For a long time, scientists thought they knew everything about how these mountains were doing. They believed the mountains were just slowly, quietly getting smaller, like an ice cream cone melting on a warm day. They thought they were just eroding, which is a fancy word for being worn down by wind and rain over millions of years. But guess what? Something totally unexpected is happening. It turns out, parts of the Appalachian Mountains are actually getting taller. Isn't that wild? It's like finding out your grandpa is suddenly growing taller instead of shrinking. This is the big Appalachian mystery we're going to unravel today. How can mountains that are supposed to be getting smaller be rising up instead? Let's put on our detective hats and dig into the clues. So how did scientists even figure this out? They didn't use a giant measuring tape, that's for sure. They used super smart technology like GPS, the same stuff that helps your parents' car navigate. They placed special sensors all over the mountains, and these sensors can detect even the tiniest movements in the earth. Over time, the data showed that certain parts of the mountains, especially a big area called the Appalachian Plateau, were slowly but surely rising. At first, a lot of scientists were like, "No way, that can't be right." It went against everything they had learned. Old mountains are supposed to erode and sink, not rise up. It was a real puzzle, but the data was clear. The mountains were moving upwards. This discovery sparked a huge scientific debate and got everyone excited to find out what was causing this mysterious lift. It's like a real-life science detective story. To understand why this is so weird, let's talk about how mountains are usually born. Think of the Earth's surface as a bunch of giant puzzle pieces called tectonic plates. These plates are always moving, but super slowly. When two plates crash into each other, they can push the land up, and bam! You get a mountain range. This is how the Appalachians were first formed hundreds of millions of years ago, when the continents that would become North America and Africa smashed together. But that was a long time ago. Since then, the continents have drifted apart, and the massive forces that built the Appalachians have been gone for ages. Without that big push, the mountains should just be getting worn down. So, what could possibly be pushing them back up? This is where the clues start getting really interesting. One of the first ideas scientists had was something called isostatic rebound. That sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. Imagine you're sitting on a really soft couch. You make a big dent in the cushion, right? Now what happens when you stand up? The cushion slowly puffs back up to its original shape. Scientists thought maybe the same thing was happening with the mountains. During the last ice age, huge, heavy sheets of ice called glaciers covered a lot of North America. These glaciers were so heavy they pushed the land down like you sitting on the couch. When the ice melted about 20,000 years ago, that weight was lifted. So the theory was that the land is now slowly rebounding, or puffing back up. This is a great idea, and it's definitely happening in places that were covered by the thickest ice like Canada. But here's the problem. The part of the Appalachians that's rising the most was never covered by those giant glaciers. So the couch cushion idea doesn't quite fit for this part of the mystery. We need to look for another clue. This led scientists to look deeper, literally. They started thinking about what's happening far beneath the mountains, in a part of the Earth called the mantle. The mantle is a thick layer of super hot, gooey rock that flows very slowly, kind of like thick honey. Imagine the Earth's crust, the part we live on, is like a cracker floating on top of this honey-like mantle. Some parts of the cracker might be thicker or heavier than others. One wild idea is that a big heavy chunk of the crust in the upper mantle broke off from underneath the Appalachian Mountains and started sinking into the deeper, hotter mantle. Think of it like a heavy anchor being cut from the bottom of a boat. What happens to the boat? It pops up in the water, right? Scientists think something similar might be happening here. A super dense piece of the Earth's lithosphere, that's the crust and the solid part of the mantle, could have peeled away and sunk. As this heavy anchor dropped away, The mountains above, now lighter, started to float up higher on the gooey mantle below. They call this lithospheric delamination. It's a pretty epic idea. How can we test this? Scientists use a clever trick. They study how earthquake waves travel through the earth. These waves move at different speeds depending on what they're passing through. If they're moving through hot, gooey rock, they slow down. If they're moving through cold, solid rock, they speed up. By setting up a network of sensors called seismometers all across the eastern United States, scientists created a kind of 3D X-ray of what's happening deep underground. And what they found was amazing. They saw a region deep beneath the Appalachians where earthquake waves were moving more slowly. This suggests there's a big blob of hotter, less dense material welling up from the mantle. This hot blob could be pushing up on the crust from below, causing the mountains to rise. This finding supports the idea that something dramatic is happening in the mantle. It could be the peeling off of the dense lithosphere, which then allowed hotter mantle material to flow upwards and fill the space, pushing the surface up like a slow-motion bubble. So we have a hot blob of mantle pushing up from below. Case closed, right? Well, not so fast. Science is all about testing ideas, and some scientists think there might be other things happening too. The Earth is a complicated place, and it's rarely just one thing causing a big change. Another idea involves water and erosion. Remember how we said erosion from rain and rivers wears down mountains? Well, as tons and tons of rock and dirt are washed away from the mountains and carried out to the ocean, the mountains actually get lighter. And just like the boat that lost its anchor, the lighter mountain range could float up a bit higher on the mantle. It's a bit like the isostatic rebound idea, but instead of lifting ice, we're removing rock. This process is happening, for sure. The question is whether it's powerful enough to explain the amount of uplift that we're seeing. Most scientists think that while erosion plays a role, it probably can't account for all of the rise on its own. It's likely a contributing factor, but not the main driver of our mystery. So, what does this all mean? The most likely story, the one that pieces all the clues together, is a combination of these amazing forces. Deep beneath the ancient Appalachians, a dramatic event is unfolding. A heavy piece of the tectonic plate may have peeled off and is sinking into the earth as fiery mantle. In its place, hotter, more buoyant material is rising, pushing the surface up from below. At the same time, millions of years of rain and rivers have been washing away the surface, making the mountains lighter and helping them float even higher. It's an incredible picture, isn't it? These mountains, which look so peaceful and unchanging, are actually alive with geological activity. It tells us that our planet is constantly changing, in ways we are only just beginning to understand. Even the oldest and quietest-looking places can hold the most exciting secrets. This discovery is super important. It changes how we think about how continents and mountain ranges evolve over time. It shows us that geologic processes can happen on schedules that are much faster than we once thought. For you, it is a reminder that there are always new mysteries to solve and new things to discover about our amazing world. Maybe one day, you'll be the scientist who uncovers the next big secret hidden deep within the earth. The Appalachian Mystery is a fantastic example of how science works. Scientists make an observation: the mountains are rising. They come up with different ideas or hypotheses to explain it. Then they gather evidence and test those ideas until they find the one that fits the best. And even then, they keep asking questions. So next time you see a mountain, or even a big hill, remember that there's an incredible story happening, both on its surface and deep beneath your feet. The Earth is a dynamic and exciting planet, full of puzzles just waiting for curious minds like yours to solve them. Thanks so much for joining me on this detective adventure today. I hope you had fun unraveling the Appalachian Mystery. If you enjoyed this video and want to explore more amazing science puzzles with me, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next adventure. See you next time.